a little honeybee.
Hi, this is Harold from Lanier Bee Barn. Hopefully we got a few more tips for you today. We're going to try to go through this hive real quick, take a look at them, how they're doing. This is a swarm we caught back at the end of April. So we're going to see how they built out. I suspect they're probably in need of a super. And right now we're in the middle of our nectar flow. So we've got tulip poplars blooming, we've got privet blooming, we've got wild roses, we've got all kind of stuff blooming, clover everywhere. So you got to watch your hives real carefully because they can fill them up and decide that they want to swarm. So hopefully these girls haven't made that decision to swarm again, but they probably need another box. So we're going to take a look at that today and take a look at a couple tools that we'll use. So we got our smoker ready in case we need it. I don't normally use it unless I need to. So open up the box. And I'd say we have a few bees in this box. First, take a look at our lid, make sure we don't have any issues, no hive beetles, and more particularly no queen. So always want to be sure your queen's not on there. I have seen her on the lids many times. Okay, so we've got a bunch of frames full of bees. These girls could probably, we'll look a little closer, but I think they're ready for a super. But we're going to take a look and see how she's laying, how they're building out the comb. And one of the tools that I use is called a frame perch, and I can't live without these. I have probably at least 3, maybe 4 out here scattered around the bee yard, different places, because this is one of the most handy tools that you'll have. When you normally, without this tool, obviously, you would take the frame out, and you're going to take a quick look and see what's going on here. See, we got a little bit of fuzz started. They've already started to build out this frame. But without our frame perch, normally most people would just take it and prop it up against our leg like so, or perhaps against the frame or the hive stand. Another option would be to have a separate deep hive body handy, and you could just put it in that temporarily. What you don't want to do is just shove it back in the hole and then try to pull up another frame, because the comb that's built out could rip and tear and that kind of thing. So you want to kind of build yourself some working room. But with our frame perch, what we can do is simply set it right there. Now, a couple tips on this. When I put this perch on here, I do not push it all the way to the side, because the bees can festoon against the box, and then when you pull the frame away, they just all fall onto the ground. So I like to pull it out and leave a little bit of room like that. So then we're going to go for our second frame. Now we've got a lot of stuff drawn out. We're going to look everywhere again. Could our queen be on this frame? What do you think? She could. She could be on any frame. So always take a look on every frame real quick. Now we notice on this one, they've built it out a bit, and they're storing nectar. So that's really nice. Good sign. We'll check our other side. Don't spot the queen right off. Okay, so another tip though in finding your queen is like right now. Normally, if this comb in here is cap brood, she's going to be on one of the outer sides. Okay. Now, if she is on one of the outer sides, she's likely to be kind of like in this section here. But in addition to that, she may be on what we call the dark side, meaning not the side that is exposed now to the sunlight, because she doesn't like the sunlight too much. She likes to hide. So she may be on this side. So as I pull this one out, I'm going to look first on this frame. As I'm pulling this out, I'm just going to do a quick scan to see if I see her run across there. I looked down, didn't see her. Doesn't mean she wasn't there. Now let's take a look at this side. And boy, they've got this completely full. Lots of nectar. Take a look on this side. What do we have? Again, lots of nectar. I don't see a queen right off. There is some places for her to lay, so she could be here, but I don't see her right now. Alright, now that we've got a working space, we'll just put this frame back in. Now, there's another habit that I have to help me figure out how to put my frames back in. I want to put the frames in exactly the same way, the same order, because they'll build the comb sometimes bulbous in one direction, and then there's a matching frame for that, right? So we want to be sure that we put them back so they mate properly. So the tip I use is my left hand, and I work the hive from behind. So I say left hand is long. So my left hand is going to reach long for the frame. So when I pull the frame up and I do my thing and I get ready to put it back, I'll know, oh, it doesn't go this way because my left hand is the one that went long to grab it to start with. So anyway, small tip, maybe it'll help. Alright, so now let's look what we have here. Quick scan for the queen. Don't see her here. Alright, we've got plenty of comb in there. I don't see any eggs right now. I would expect to see some on that side. And even on this side, we've got some pollen going on. Lots of frames there. The bees are pretty calm, so if they don't have a queen, it is a bit unusual for them to be quite this calm. Alright, don't see a queen there. Alright, looking again on the dark side. There's a queen cup. Still no queen that I see. Alright, well, we have a queen cell. Wonder what that's going to tell us. So in this case, I don't see eggs, I don't see any brood. We haven't seen it so far. We still have some frames to go. It may be they're trying to supersede her. However, I don't know that they're going to be very successful because that cell is all by itself. There's no eggs around it, so I don't know what they would have made this from. Just hopes and prayers, I guess. Alright, so let's keep going. So we have another tool that's helpful for us, especially if we want to try to do something with this, with your, your dominant hand, maybe cutting some, scraping some stuff, or cutting something, whatever. We have something here for a little frame grabber thing, right? So you can use that, and now you've got a little more control with just one hand. You can check what you need to check. But let's say I try to catch my queen, I could use this easily to support my hand and grab the queen, or do what we need to mark her, that type of thing. So a lot of times, if you don't have, let's say, a lot of strength or dexterity in one hand or the other, then this is a great tool for you to use to be able to manipulate these one-handed. Alright, let's keep going. I'm hoping we'll see some brood. If we don't, then we can be sure that we do not have a queen. However, look what we have here. If we can see deep down inside there, there's a lot of young brood. Probably like 3-day-old larvae I saw. At least 3 to 4-day-old larvae. Now let me show you something that's really kind of cool. Is if we look at it from an angle, we see this is kind of a lighter comb right in there. And as we go further out, it becomes very yellowish, right? And then when we get up in this area, even more so. Well, that's where they've been bringing the pollen. So they've been tracking pollen across those cells and storing it up there in this bright orange. And I'm not sure what that is. That could be tulip poplar, for all I know. But the color of the pollen doesn't necessarily mean the color of the flower either. But so at this point, I could stop this inspection and be happy then with what I'm looking at, knowing that my queen has been here. So if I can see eggs, that means she's been here in the last 3 days. So let's see if we see some eggs that surround these. see an egg in that one. I don't see a lot of eggs though. Not a lot. That might be why the girls were thinking about superseding her. So we have some more on this side. So we got a couple queen cups here. And I look down inside and they are dry. There's no egg anymore. So those aren't going to be viable. So you could leave them, or you could just take them out. There's an oops right there. That might have been wet. But we do have at least one that we know is fully kept. So we're going to make the assumption that that's what they've done. They've either lost their queen or decided she's not doing a good enough job. So I don't see too many cells to worry about just yet. If there were like 5 or 6 nice supersedure cells, we may elect to remove a few of them. I like to leave at least 3 good cells, whether they're doing supersedures or swarm cells. I don't like to have more than that because at that point she's going to have to fight with the others. She may become injured in the process and not be able to go out and get mated. That's a beautiful comb right there, full of brood, and that's only been recently capped. This one, let's see what we have. Oh, we got eggs in every cell on this one. All throughout here, everything's got an egg. That's a lot of pollen they bring in. Usually they'll bring the pollen in and deposit it close to where they're going to have their brood, so they don't have to go far to feed them. And these are full of larvae. It's not a bad looking frame at all. Let's see what we have on this one. Ooh, lots of eggs all throughout this well. Quick scan, I don't see the queen. She's laying really well, so I really wouldn't expect her too much on this side because she's already filled these up. She might be on another frame looking for a place to lay. Okay, I don't see, yeah, there's some eggs there. Few. Alright, one last frame. Let's see if we can find her. So this is full of eggs right in here. We can see eggs completely full. So this has a lot of bees. A lot of times it's hard to find her. Now there's a lot of eggs in there. If I had not seen those supersedure cells, there she is right there. If I had not seen those, I wouldn't be terribly worried because she's laying an egg right now. She just finished laying. So what we want to do now, we'll probably mark her and then set her back. However, I want to go back and destroy those supersedure cells because she's laying eggs and the eggs look good, the brood patterns all look good. So I think we're in good shape as far as she's concerned. So if they needed to, they still were worried about her. There's still lots of eggs. They could make another emergency cells from her. Queen, we've marked her. We've checked the pattern. It all looks really good. They're built out strongly all the way over to this side over here. Now that we've checked all of that, I think this is going to be ready for a super. And we'll add one because we don't want them to be stimulated to think they're out of room and decide that they want to swarm. So that's one. Swarming is an instinct that's built into the bee. You don't have to cause it. It's there. but you can trigger it by having them build out and feel like they don't have any more room to lay. So we're going to add a super to this. So as you can see, we've got our frames all put in except for our last one. Take that off of our frame perch. I usually like to set this aside. However, right now, as you can see, I could take my Hive tool and squish this over, but I want to point out a feature of frames that most people don't know about. And if you'll notice this taper right here, and how many times have you tried to put a frame back in and the bees are crawling across it, and you don't want to squish your bees, and you're worried about all of that. So what you can do is utilize that to your advantage. So what I'm going to do, two things. I'm going to show you how you won't squish bees with your frames, but also notice this gap needs to be wider, but right now it's at least as wide as the tip of my the bottom of the frame. So I'm going to push that in, swing around the side there, look at all the way around, and look at how I'm positioning that right against that frame. This other end the same way. So as I push down, that will sweep off any bees that were on those edges, and so I don't have to worry about squishing them. It also moved this over just a bit. So now I can take my tool and just straighten things up, even out the gap. And there we go. So now at this point we're going to add another super. You can see how all the girls are all set up here on the edge. You're going to have some squished bees here and there, but now I want to look at how do I get the bees off the edge. Well, probably our easiest bet is get our smoker out and sweep them away. Alright, just like that. Now in addition to that, you see them already coming back up very quickly. So a couple things we could do. We could keep smoking, but generally you can put your hive body on at an angle like such. Right now there's only 4 points of contact, so if I had lots of bees all over everywhere, I would only be squishing the ones underneath that as opposed to putting it all the way down. Okay, so you put it down like so, and then you just twist it slightly to where they line up. When you do that, you sweep some off on the outside, some sweep off to the inside, and then but you minimize how many bees you squish. So if you'll notice, my honey super that I'm putting on right now happens to be a deep. And normally you would put on like a medium or a shallow box. I'm putting a deep on because I want to have drawn comb on a lot of deep frames. So I don't have those right now. I'm trying to plan for next year. So I'm going to have them build this out instead of medium or shallow combs. Okay, now that we're done, I want to center these frames all up. If this were more of a true honey super, I would go with 9 frames and I would space them out a little bit because they'll draw the combs out wider. In our case, since we've got that brood chamber down below and we don't have a queen excluder, they're going to bring brood up in here. So these combs don't need to be drawn out fat, they just need to be drawn out. Alright, we're going to put our top back on. Now one of the things, when I build my tops, I like to add a little strip, so that gives them a little more headroom underneath when I put the migratory lids down. Otherwise, it's kind of tight. So there we are. And I use my marking system to tell me a little bit about what's going on in the colony. When I have a brick oriented like this, it tells me that I have a queen and that all is well with the colony. This tells me I have a queen, but this box needs some attention. Maybe it's time to put that super on. This tells me I have no queen, and so that's going to give me the indication that I need to do something about that. This probably says I have no queen and things are really bad. Maybe I have wax moths in here or something of that nature. So anyway, now the biggest help that I have found is the Sharpie and a note on the top. So we're going to say today's date, added super. There we are. And that's Harold from Lanier Bee Barn. Hope you enjoyed.